Welcome to Module 2 for the online modules for co-teaching within Durham Public Schools. This module will focus on co-planning. The following slides describe ways for teachers to co-plan in order to effectively co-teach in any classroom setting. Co-planning is absolutely essential if teachers are to effectively meet student needs within the general classroom setting. The theme of preparing meals will hopefully be an entertaining way to help teachers understand the different ways to plan, as well as the unconditional need for it. The first type of planning is for a gourmet meal which has 2 gourmet chefs involved. This type of planning is from scratch. The teachers involved must determine what standards need to be taught, select the unit topics, design lessons and lesson plans, select and gather materials and resources. This type of planning is very time consuming since only raw materials are being brought to the table by both parties. However, it does make for very creative and balanced lessons. It also ensures that all involved in this type of planning are equally vested and it's in the lessons and its delivery within the classroom. This method allows teachers to be seen as complete equals as well, since both have the same amount of time involved. While gourmet meals are quite delicious and very satisfying, they're not always practical for every meal that we eat. This from-scratch planning is very beneficial, but it's not something that can be expected from every planning session. The next method is a home-cooked meal, which involves 2 great co-chefs. With this type of planning, some things are brought to the table pre-done so that the teachers involved are cooking the meal together. The topics and/or standards to be taught have been pre-selected, but the lesson activities and specifics still need to be designed. This is much like the gourmet meal where all involved are equally vested in the development of the lessons. The main difference is that this type of planning is a little less time consuming. Since the standards to be taught are known ahead of time, the teachers can bring more to the table by way of materials and resources. This allows the chefs to then mix the ingredients together as they prepare the meal and lesson together. Home-cooked planning should be a staple in the teachers' training pantries. The next method is the potluck meal, which involves 2 good separate chefs. Here, the chefs prepare parts of the meal before they meet to bring it all together. It's important that each member have a good, solid, general idea of what the other is bringing. While we all love dessert, a meal that would be entirely dessert would not be healthy nor satisfying. Even though each chef has decided if they are to bring the meat, vegetable, bread, etc., they will not know exactly what the meal will look like until they come together to mesh their dishes into the full meal. So while this type of planning is also less time consuming than gourmet and even the home-cooked meal, it may take some work to ensure that the meal/lesson has continuity and does not lack any particular main area or dish. This planning style also easily allows accommodations to be made to portions of the lesson, but not to others. In this model, there continues to be parity as long as each member brings equal portions to the picnic, which is another staple in the teachers' pantries. The next method is the fast food meal, where you have a fry chef and a drive-thru attendant. So, for example, when you order a meal at a fast food restaurant, you go through the drive-thru window. The person who prepares the meal and the attendant who hands it through the window need very, very little communication. In this type of planning, most or all of the lessons have been created by one partner, and the other teacher usually makes the adjustment, modifies materials, and makes other accommodations to an activity. This way, modifications and accommodations may be achieved, and each party has an awareness of the plans. While this type of planning is less time consuming, parity is nearly lost since one teacher will have greater input than the other. Fast food meals are fine, even necessary sometimes, but would be very unhealthy if that were the only type of meal that we ever consumed. The next method is the dinner party meal, where you have an individual chef and the dinner party guests. This type of planning involves one teacher creating all of the lessons, gathering the materials and resources, etc. The other teacher is simply the consumer who shows up to partake of what has been prepared. This participant may or may not have volunteered to help. The dinner guest may be allowed to sprinkle some salt, maybe add a comment or example to the lesson, but their interaction is extremely limited. Since everything is prepared ahead of time, only the one chef knows what the meal or lesson consists of. Due to this, time expended is very minimal, meaning that communication and input is sporadic or non-existent. Since teachers are not equally vested in the planning, they will not be equally vested in the delivery of the instruction. This inequity will be obvious to the students, and the credibility of the dinner guest teacher is most likely lost. Only on-the-spot accommodations and modifications can be made, which could very possibly render them ineffective. This type of planning is unfortunately what many teachers experience, but should be used only on a rare occasion. So with that, please review the options that were provided and consider with your co-teacher which options might possibly work for you. Thank you for participating in this module on co-planning. The next modules will address the 6 co-teaching models.